You are listening to A State of the Union, estate planning made simple. Here's your host, Brad Wiewel, from the Wiewel Law Firm in Austin, Texas.
Hi, this is Brad Wiewel. This is the State of the Union podcast, and we are here talking about the law. And we're talking about specifically today the Corporate Transparency Act. It's a nice name, isn't it? Corporate Transparency Act. The title of this podcast is Bad Moon Rising. Sounds good too, doesn't it? And if you're as old as me, you may remember there was a Creedence Clearwater song called Bad Moon Rising. And this new law, the Corporate Transparency Act, is for sure a bad moon rising. Now, it may not affect you, and it may affect you. And if it does affect you, there's serious stuff that's going to have to happen, and you need to be aware of this because the feds are coming down on entities. And when we talk about entities, we're talking about corporations and LLCs. We're not sure, and I'll have to say this, we're not sure how it applies to trusts. We're going to assume right now it doesn't because it really applies to things that are registered with the state or the federal government, and currently, certainly revocable trusts are not registered anywhere, so we're not sure it's going to apply to those. We hope it doesn't. But this is an attempt by the federal government to gather very detailed information about any entity, again, LLC, corporations, joint ventures, partnerships that are out there, and they are gathering this information to allegedly fight organized crime. Now, I'm going to get my glasses out of here because I'm going to look in the camera and look at you and make sure that you're not involved in organized crime. Probably aren't. But this is a sweeping new law, and we're going to give you some details today. Later, when we know more, we'll come back with more. The good news is it's really not effective. The Corporate Transparency Act isn't effective until January 1st of 2024. Okay, so that's when the reporting has to start. But once the reporting starts, the deadlines are very short, and you could get in serious trouble if you don't abide by them. So, how's that for an introduction, huh? All right, so let's kind of get in some details. So again, what the federal government, through the Department of Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, again, watch yourself out there, wants to gather information to protect national security and combat criminal activity. There's a problem with organized crime, of course, and there's a problem with criminal activity, of course. So their thought is we need to know, the federal government needs to know who owns all these entities. The state government in the various states does have information on this, but they don't report it to the federal government. They're not required to report it to the federal government. And what the feds want is a lot more detailed information about your entities. So I'm going to stop here and say this quickly. If you don't have an LLC, if you don't have a corporation, if you're not involved in a limited partnership or a joint venture, you can turn this off and go back to your coffee or your mixed drink or whatever you're going to do. Have a good day. This won't apply to you. But it does apply to a lot of people, small business owners, people that maybe have an LLC to protect a rental house, a vacation property, an account. It will definitely apply to you. And again, list it up because this is serious stuff. The people that are required to report are called the beneficial owners of the company, which means anybody who has substantial control of the company, anybody who has a 25% or more ownership of the company. And you have to report to the federal government your name, your birth date, your address, and you have to supply a unique identification number, off an ID, like I presume a driver's license or a passport, and it has to have a photo too. So this is detailed information they're gathering. And if you don't provide this information, there are penalties such as $500 a day for not doing it. If you change the information, so you move from 1505 North 14th Street to 1417 North 14th Street, you move a block away, you have to update this information within 30 days or you're subject to fines and maybe criminal penalties, because the criminal penalties are up to 2 years of imprisonment. Now, I have told Cindy, my wife, that I'm going to do my best, honey, to stay out of jail. I'm going to do my very best to stay out of jail. And a $500 a day fine, let's see if I've got this straight, is $6,000 a month times 12. If I go a year without doing this stuff, we're talking $72,000 worth of fines. Holy cow. That is a lot of stuff. That's a lot of money. And nobody's heard about this law. Okay? One of the reasons we're doing this podcast is that nobody's heard about it. Probably what's going to happen is as we get closer to January 24, there will be more discussion about it. There will be maybe your advisor, or if you're not working with Texas trust law, maybe your lawyer, I wouldn't count on it frankly, but maybe your lawyer will contact you and say, hey, there's this new law, but lawyers are very busy with a lot of other things, and it may be hard for them to keep up and alert you. Financial advisors are busy making you money. It's really not their job to alert you to this, but the good ones will, okay? And so we're telling you, because some financial advisors and attorneys will watch this podcast as well, we're telling you to put this on your calendar and to let your clients know, I would say certainly starting in July of next year, that this is coming, and they've got about 6 months to get prepared. And if you have an existing entity, you provide all this information to the federal government, and you've got a year to provide it. So on January 1st of 2024, if you already have an entity in place, you've got till January 1st of 2025 to get the federal government all this stuff. If you create a new entity, you got 30 days from the day you create it. So it's a very, very short timeline, again, before these fines kick in and potential imprisonment kicks in, okay? Now, I'm not going to go and alarm anybody about this. I probably already have. Sorry. But again, the severity of this, the detail required in this is much more. If you form an LLC or a corporation in Texas, you do provide the name of the people who are going to be forming the company and some relevant information about their address, maybe the address of the company. So if you get sued, the constable knows where to serve the papers at your registered office. That's about all you have to do. This law will require much more detail and much more vigilance. Thank you. So you need to be prepared for this. I'm going to stop here, okay? I want you to know this is out there. This is bubbling up. You can certainly Google the Corporate Transparency Act, and I frankly suggest you do. If you've got an entity, if you're a member of an entity, again, a member of an entity with more than 25% ownership or with substantial control over the entity, you're going to need to be the one reporting this stuff. And you're going to have to figure out how to report this stuff. Here at our law firm, we've created a whole new thing called Business Shield. And Business Shield is our latest way of helping clients that want to work with us to keep their entities up to date with minutes, resolutions, to keep them in compliance with the law, to make this entity look like it's a real entity and not just your piggy bank. For our Business Shield clients, we'll be helping do this compliance work too with the Corporate Transparency Act. If you're interested in talking to us about Business Shield, then give us a buzz or send us an email at info@texastrustlaw.com, and we'll have somebody contact you on how you can become a part of that program. We've created that program, Business Shield, to, again, not just create LLCs or corporations or limited partnerships, but to make sure they're fully in compliance with the law, including, of course, our good friend, the Corporate Transparency Act. So, That's enough for now. That should, I don't want you to stay awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, but you need to know as we go forward, the feds may be awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, looking through things and seeing if you've complied. If you're in compliance, you really only have to comply once, and unless you move or change some of the information, then you got 30 days to do it. Otherwise, you should be good to go for a long time. But don't neglect putting this on your calendar and knowing that it's coming up. Starts January 1st of 2024. We're a little ahead of the game, but this is not something to mess with either. Have a good day. Have a good week. Have a good month. Have a good year. Thanks.